Thank you, Kumar sir. Good morning, all. So let us start the session, today's session. Now, before starting the session, I have one question to ask. You can just send, yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir. Yeah, I'm sharing screen, sir. Now, I already shared. Can you see the screen shares? Just a minute, sir. Can you see now, sir? Now, sir? Okay. Before, I have one question to ask. Are you all paying tax? Just I can send you an answer through chat box. Yes or no. You can just send me through. No. Shaira is saying no, and Sparshita is saying yes. Arshita yes. Mithun yes. Priya yes. And many are saying SS. Manas is saying yes. Okay. Only my parents do. Okay. You are not paying tax then. Santosh is paying. Okay. Many are paying tax. Fine. Then what kind of tax are you paying? If you're paying tax, what kind of tax are you paying? There are two types of tax: direct tax and indirect tax. Then what kind of tax are you paying? You can just send through chat box. Indirect tax, indirect tax. Madhav is saying indirect tax. Spashita is saying indirect. Manasa indirect tax. Okay, GST, fine. Indirect tax. Okay. Okay, fine. So many are saying indirect tax. Fine. Let us come to this chart. So except one or two, many are paying tax. So in this session, you will get to know whether you are paying tax or not. And also, you will get to know what kind of tax are you paying. Okay. Now, my content for this session will be meaning of tax, types of tax, and who has to pay tax, different heads of income, tax planning, tax evasion, tax avoidance, and also tax management. So let us start with the meaning of tax. Now, you might be knowing the government is providing n number of services, public services. They're constructing bridges, they're constructing roads and infrastructure facilities, and also they're giving other schemes to the public. Now, where do the government get income? Have they invested anything, or where they will get income? Please remember, tax is the main source of income to the government. Okay. Now GST, they're getting almost 1 lakh crore per month. So totally they're getting 12 lakh crore per annum. Out of total budget, the total budget will be around 27 lakh to 34 lakh crores. Out of that, 12 lakh crore collected from only GST. Okay. Now, that is what tax. Now, tax is a compulsory contribution. Everybody should pay tax to the government made by the citizens of a nation, either to the central government or state government. Why we need to pay tax? To incur public expenditure such as construction of bridge or providing road facilities or any other facilities to the public. Okay, this is the meaning of tax. I told you in tax there are two types of tax. One is direct tax, other one is indirect tax. Okay, types of tax, two types: direct tax and indirect tax. Now we'll get to know the meaning of direct tax. When it comes to direct tax, you can just look at this slide, photo. Okay, here the burden of tax borne by the person himself. I'll give an example, but before that you have to remember two words: incidence and impact. Please remember, incidence means liability to pay and impact means burden of payment. I'll give an example now. Mr. X is earning a income of 6 lakh. Now he's working under any company or any institution, okay? He's getting an income of 6 lakh. Maybe for the financial year 2020-21, the exemption limit is 5 lakh. If any individual assessee, if he is earning more than 5 lakh, he has to pay tax. Okay, he has to pay tax. Now, he is having excess income of how much? 1 lakh. Now, for that excess income, the person X has to pay tax and nobody will pay tax on behalf of X. So that means here, the liability to pay is who? Mr. X. And who has to take the burden of payment? Mr. X has to take the burden of payment. So that means liability to pay and also burden of payment both will be borne by whom? Mr. X only. That means here incidence and impact will be on the same person. That is what direct tax. And the best examples for direct tax are income tax, corporate tax, professional tax, gift tax. Okay, these are all the 4 taxes which you can give example for direct tax. Here incidence and impact will be on same person. So Mr. X has to pay tax for whatever the income earned, he has to pay and nobody will pay on behalf of Mr. X. That is what direct tax means. The best examples are corporate tax, income tax, professional tax, gift tax. Now, we'll go to indirect tax. So here is the same 2 words, incidence and impact. But see, incidence means liability to pay and impact means burden of payment. So you might have gone to any restaurant, or you might have gone to theaters, okay? You might have gone to any restaurant or theater or any amusement parks. There, the service will be provided by the restaurants or cinemas, okay, theaters or any amusement parks. See, but the benefit here, who has to pay liability? If you go to any restaurant, you have to pay liability. That means incidence part will be on you and not on restaurant part. Liability to pay will be by the consumer. But you are not going to pay directly tax to the government. The tax will be collected by the restaurant or any amusement park or theaters, and the same will be remitted to the government by these business parties. That means who is paying here? The consumer is paying tax here, whereas the tax will be collected by the business persons and the same will be remitted to the government. So incidence and impact will be on 2 different parties. Now look at here. Here the burden of tax shifted to another person. Here who is doing business? Business persons are doing business, but ultimately the tax will be collected by the consumer. So incidence and impact will be 2 different parties. The best example is GST. And please remember, you're all paying tax. You're all paying tax, and that you are paying indirect tax. Now you might not be paying direct tax. After 1 year, you may pay direct tax also. Okay, these are the 2 differences which you have to remember under direct tax and also indirect tax. Now, so you have to remember when it comes to income tax, you have to remember 2 words. One is assessment year and previous year. Please don't get confused with assessment year and previous year. Financial year is nothing but previous year. Any financial will be considered as previous year. But as far as your academic point of view, you are not going to study the current assessment year and current previous year. You are going to study 1 year previous, because see, your current previous year, financial year is 2020 to 21. But you can't calculate tax for 20 to 21. So what we are going to do, we are going to discuss of the previous years, preceding financial years. Okay. Now, so as per section 2, subsection 9 of IT Act, assessment year is a period of 12 months, which always starts from 1st April and ends on 31st March of next year. Okay. Now, what do you mean by assessment? Please remember, assessment is nothing but it's a process of calculation of what? Total income and tax liability of which year? Financial year or previous year. So that is nothing but, look at here, the income of previous year is assessed to the tax in the assessment year. Now, see, your current, as per as your academic point of view, your current assessment year is 2019-20. Okay, your current assessment, academic assessment year, not you should not take as the current one, but academic point of view, you're going to study the assessment year, I mean the financial section 3 of IT Act 1961. Current academic assessment year is 2019. So that means as per your current financial is 19-20. Okay. Is a person who is liable to pay tax or any on or before due date, you have to pay interest, or sometimes you have to pay fine, you have to pay penalty under IT Act. He will be called as an assessee. Okay. Next, person. Now this is very, very important. See, all these persons have to pay tax under Income Tax Act. Who is an individual assessee? Now, X, Mr. X, any person, individual persons like Mr. X, Mr. Y, Mr. Z, he will be called as individual person. And next one, we have HUF. HUF is nothing but Hindu Undivided Family. So it's a family. The Karta has to pay tax. You have to calculate a total income, and also you have to pay tax. And firm, it's nothing but it's two or three partners. They will join together to run a business, and on that profit, whatever the profit earned, on that they have to pay tax. That is nothing but firm. And company is an artificial person which is registered under the Companies Act of 2013, and they have to pay tax. Association of persons or body of individual, AOP, association of persons, BOI, body of individual, and even they need to pay tax. And we have local authority like municipal corporations, okay? They have to pay tax. And artificial judicial person like universities or LIC, that is under section 2, subsection 31 of IT Act 1961, okay? Now, then what do you mean by income? As per section 2, subsection 24, see, tax is charged on the income of the persons. Now, whatever the income, it can be like profit and gains, or income from house property, or income from or if you're doing any professional course, I mean, if you're doing any professional work, and whatever the income derived from the profession, all these are all considered as income. My question is, whether you have to pay tax on all the income? No, you don't have to pay tax on all the income. There are few exempted incomes, okay? That will come under the section 10. Now, exempted incomes fully exempted from income tax do not form a part of total income. Please remember, this income, exempted income, should not be added for calculation of gross total income. Now, such as, I've given only for, there are n number of exempted incomes. I've given only for agriculture income. What do you mean by agriculture income? See, any rent or revenue or any other income which is derived from the agricultural land, which is used for agricultural purpose, is an agricultural income. Is it fully exempted? No, it is exempted. Means if your total income exceeds more than exemption limit, then agriculture income is also taxable. Please remember. Okay, this is very, very important. And next one, dividends from Indian company. Suppose if you are investing in any Indian company means Infosys is an Indian company, Wipro is an Indian company. Suppose if you are investing on those in shares, and they might give you dividends, okay, per annum. And whatever the dividend received from Indian company are exempted from GST. Exempted from tax. Exempted from tax. But if you're investing in foreign companies, then you have to pay tax under the head called income from other source. Okay. And share of profit received by a partner from a firm, it is exempted. Why? Because the tax will be paid on profit under the company assessment of firms. Okay. The partnership firm already has paid tax, so here you don't have to pay tax. And share of income from HUF, it is also exempted from income tax. Okay, I've given only 4 and there are a number of examples. Next one, gross total income. So under section 14, GTA is nothing but, please remember it is very, very important. See, I've told you person means individual, HUF, partnership firm, company, or association of persons or body of individual or judicial persons. When it comes to individual, there will be 5 heads of income. Now, suppose if I take my example, I can work under any company, I can have my own house properties, I can do business, I can also sell my assets, capital assets, and also I can invest in. I can do investments in banks like fixed deposits or recurring deposits or any other. I can invest in shares. And please remember, when it comes to individualship, there are 5 heads of income from business or profession, income from capital gains, and income from other source. So aggregate of all these 5 heads of income, okay, aggregate of all these 5 heads of income is nothing but gross total income. If you total all these 5 heads of income, then you will get gross total income. See, company will pay salary to its employees, but nobody will pay salary to company. And please remember, there will not be any head called income from salary for company and also for partnership firm. Okay, there will be only 4 heads of income. What are those? Income from house property, income from business, income from capital gains, and income from other source. So when it comes to firm and company, the GTA will be only 4 heads of income. Okay, before making any deduction under section 80C to 80U. Next, a different heads of income. Already I've explained. When it comes to individual, there are 5 heads of income: income from salary, income from house property, income from business or profession, income from capital gains, income from other source. But when it comes to a firm or capital company, there will be only 4 heads of income. Next, now since we are discussing salary income, now and please remember there is a condition for taxable salary. When it comes to payee and payer relationship, please remember it should be always an employer and employee relationship, okay, or a master or servant relationship, okay. Suppose if you are not doing, if there is no relationship between, suppose if the relationship of payee and payer is not an employer or employee or master or servant, then that salary will not be taxed under the head called income from salary. So the relationship between the payee and payer should be a master or servant or employer and employee. So as per section 17 of IT Act, salary includes all these things. We'll go one by one. First one, wages. What do you mean by wages? It is a amount or fixed amount which is paid by the employer to the employee for the service rent. Okay. And next one, we have allowances. When it comes to allowances, it is a fixed amount which is paid by the employer to the employee for incurring official expenditure. Now, suppose if any runner is there, okay, for transportation, if one person has to travel from one place to another place, the company will pay tax or the company will pay allowances to its employees. Okay. So for that, there are 3 types of allowances: fully taxable and partly taxable and also exempted. Okay. Now, when it comes to fully taxable, please remember DNS allowances is fully taxable. CCA, city compensatory allowances is fully taxable. Okay. Next one, project allowances, servant allowances, and medical allowances. All these are all fully taxable. Okay. When it comes to partly taxable, HRA, house rent allowances. See, when it comes to house rent allowances, if it is Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai, Kolkata, okay, that is Mumbai. Actual HRA are 50% of average salary, the meaning of salary you might be knowing, and also is partly taxable. Okay, when it comes to government employees, 5,000 maximum limit of 5,000 are actual entertainment allowances. If it is non-government employee, full EA is taxable. Entertainment allowance is taxable. Okay. Next, we have pension. Pension is a periodical sum of money which is paid by employer to the employee. Okay, even that is also taxable. I mean, 1/3 is exempted. Okay, and next one 1/3 and 2/3 is exempted. And any gratuity. Gratuity is nothing but it's a retirement benefit which is given by the employer to employee. Okay, and here also we have exemptions. Okay, and any fees or commission or perquisites. And perquisites means any extra benefits which are given by employer, which are given by the employer to on loan. Okay, all these are all taxable, partly taxable. And leave encashment. So see, if you're working under any company, usually you will have 30 days or 15 days. End of the year, those can be encashed. That means you can receive cash, okay, against those leaves. Even that is partly taxable. And we have RPF, that is Recognized Provident Fund. And here you should remember, when it comes to RPF, employees' contribution comes to employer contribution, okay, up to 12% it is exempted. Excess of 12% is taxable. And also, see, since you are making investment in Recognized Provident Fund, that Provident Fund organization, okay, they may pay interest. Up to 9.5% it is exempted. Excess of 9.5% interest is taxable. Okay, and any advance salary is also taxable. Arrears of salary is also taxable, fully taxable. If you include all these things, you will get gross salary. And later we can have a deduction under section 16. Okay, that is standard deduction. Earlier we were not having standard deduction. Now they have introduced a standard deduction of 40,000. Standard deduction of 40,000 under section 16. Comes to entertainment allowances, if it is employees, it is fully taxable. If it is to maximum limit of 5,000, and also actual entertainment allowances, least of all these three you have to take, and that can be deducted under section 16 class 2, that too only for government employees. For non-government employees, it is completely taxable. And professional tax under section 16 class 3. See, if it is paid by employee, directly you can have deduction under section 16 class 3. Suppose if it is paid by employer, you have to add this class 3, that is professional tax. So we are done with income from salary. Now we'll go to the head called income from house property. Now see, for all days of income, there will be few conditions which you have to remember. Okay, when it comes to salary, employer-employee relationship, or master or servant. When it comes to house property, okay, we have three conditions. There must be a building and land apportionment. Land apportionments, a land should be attached to the building. Okay, and assessee must be the called income from house property. And third one, the property must not be used by the assessee for his own our own business or profession. Please remember this. If any house property is used for his or own business, then that is not a income from house property. Okay, that is exempted actually. Next, now there are few exempted incomes under house property. For charitable purpose is exempted, and house which is used for own business or profession, already I have told you the third one, it is exempted. So if you are using any house property for own business or profession, exempted. And property held for registered trade union, exempted. And income from HP in the hands of political party. If any political party is holding any house properties and whatever the income derived from those house university or hospitals are exempted. And also, and please remember, now the last point is very, very important. See, till 2019-20, I mean, in the budget of 2000 given, till financial year, I think 1920, only one house will be one self-occupied property. Suppose if you're staying in Bangalore, and if you're having only one house, and that is used for residential purpose. Year 1920, one house will be exempted. Now, year afterwards, from financial year or previous year, 2021, two self-occupied properties are exempted. Okay. Now, till financial year 1920 or previous year 1920, one self-occupied property will exempted. Okay. Next. Now, you know how to calculate gross income from house property. Fair rental value or municipal rental value, whichever is higher, will be called as notional rent. Notional rent or standard rent, whichever is higher, is nothing but expected rent. Expected rent or actual rent, whichever is higher, will be called as gross annual value. Okay, out of that, you have to minus municipal taxes. And please remember, municipal taxes paid by only owner, not by tenant. It can be for the current previous year, or it can be for the preceding previous years. You can minus year. Okay, then we will get net annual value. Okay, NAV. Now here you should be careful here. We have deduction under section 24. The first one is standard deduction at 30% on what? NAV, net annual value. Whatever the income, whatever the net annual value will get. See, please remember, when you're calculating income from house property, you cannot deduct like expenses, revenue expenses like repairs or any other alteration or any other expenses. Why they are not giving any deduction? Because we have a standard deduction of 30%. Sometimes in exams, they'll give you repair, insurance, other expenses. Those items should not be deducted. Why in the sense? Because we have a standard deduction of 30%. And next one, we have interest on borrowed capital. When it comes to interest on borrowed capital, there are two types of interest. One is pre-construction interest and also current year interest. So, date of loan borrowed till the date of construction, whatever the interest you are going to pay, that interest can be deducted in 5 equal installment. Okay, in 5 equal installment after the completion of construction. Okay, that is pre-construction interest. And current year interest, still if you have not repaid any loan and if you are paying interest, that can be deducted under section 24. Then you will get income from house properties. Okay, so we are done with income from house properties. The next one is income from business and profession. Now, so what do you mean by business? As per section 2, subsection 13, a business can be any trade. If you're doing any trade, that is business. If you're doing or concern in the nature of trade, commerce, or manufacture, all these are called as business. Okay. And next we have profession as per section 2, subsection 13. See, profession also includes vocational courses. And profession requires purely intellectual skills. Okay. If anything which is related to intellectual skills, special learning, then that is nothing but a profession. Okay. Next, see, there are general principles to compute income from business and profession. Now, you should be careful here. First one, when you are calculating income from business or profession, it is very, very important. Now your current academic previous year is 2018-19 and your assessment year is 19-20. And when you're calculating income from business, please remember, and income, expenses and income should be related to the previous year only. That means those expenses should be related to the current financial previous year, that is 2018-19, because your previous year is 18-19 and assessment year is 19-20. These expenses should be related to the 2018-19 expenses only. And those watch to your friend, that is not professional expenses or business expenses, that is personal expenses. That is what the condition says. Expenses are related to business or profession. And principle of commercial expediency. Commercial expediency means any expenditure which is incurred expenses, and business or profession must be carried during the previous year, and that business or profession should be carried during the previous year, that is 18-19. And please remember, no anticipated loss. No anticipated loss. If you have any anticipated loss, that is not business expenses, and includes illegal business also. Okay, but this also includes, if you're getting any income from illegal business, you have to pay tax. And no deductions for penalties, fines, penalties, no deductions. You cannot have deduction for this one. And deduction related to taxable profits only. And deduction is related to only taxable profits. If you are incurring any agriculture not be deducted under the head called income from business. Next, so computation of income from business. So always starting, you have to take profit, net profit or loss as per P&L account, and you have to add all these items. Okay, inadmissible. Now you should know there are two words in business. Okay, when it comes to income from business: admissible, inadmissible. Okay, allowed expenses. Now, inadmissible means non-business expenses are disallowed. Okay, then what do you mean by admissible and inadmissible? Admissible expenses are purely business. Okay, that means those are all business expenses. Now, provision for bad debts is a business expenses. Okay, not provision, any provision is inadmissible. I'm sorry. Bad debts is admissible, like printing and stationery expenses, admissible. Salary paid to its employees, admissible. All these are all admissible expenses which should be debited to P&L account. But sometimes, I've already given the example of watch. Suppose if you're giving any gift to your friend, watch. Okay, if you're giving any watch as a gift to your friend, and that expenses should not be shown in P&L account. That is non-business expenses are inadmissible expenses. So what do you mean by inadmissible expenses? Inadmissible expenses is nothing but non-business expenses. That means these expenses are so these should not be debited. This should not be to add back. You need to add back. That means you have to pay tax. Income, but you're not credited to P&L account. You have 2-3 business. Okay, you have credited only 2 business incomes. You are not credited one more business. Then you have to pay tax on that. So you have to include. It is admissible expenses or business incomes. If not credited to P&L account, you should add back. Okay. Overvalue their stocks, opening as well as closing stocks. So if you're doing overvaluation of opening stock, you need to add. And if you're doing any undervaluation of closing stock, you need to add. Okay. Then we'll get some total, subtotal. And suppose, now look at here, depreciation is an admissible expenses. If you are not debited, then you can have a deduction, no problem. You can have a deduction.
So if you have any admissible or allowed expenses or business expenses, all three words are same, business expenses. Suppose if you are not debited to P&L account, then you have a chance to deduct. Okay, you have a chance to deduct. You can have a deduction. You can have you can less those expenses like admissible expenses. See, expenses should be debited, but you are not debited. Then no problem. You can deduct your admissible expenses not debited to P&L account. And also, see, we are going to calculate only income from business. Okay, we are not going to calculate. We have totally 5 heads of income: income from salary, HP, business, capital gains, other source. But in this chapter, in this header, we are going to calculate only income from business. We don't want any other head of income like income from salary, house property, or capital gains or other source. So, if suppose if you have credited any other heads of income, then you need to minus. That is not non-business credited, you can minus here. And if you have any exempt incomes like agriculture income or dividend from Indian company, if you have credited to P&L account, you can minus here. And it is reversed to here. Instead of overvaluation of opening stock, undervaluation of opening stock should be minused, and overvaluation of closing stock should be minused. So if you add and minus, you will get income from business. Later, if you have any brought forward business loss, okay, business loss, you have to minus. And if you have any brought forward unabsorbed depreciation, you can minus. Then you will get taxable business income. Any doubts, you can ask at the end of this session. Okay, I'll give you time to ask questions. Next, format for calculation of income from profession. So it is very simple. What you need to do, you have to take professional receipts. Whenever they give you question, you have to identify whether it is a professional income or personal income. Okay, when it comes to expenses, whether it is a personal expenses or professional expenses. So if you take, then it will be easy income from profession. So professional receipts, okay, practicing fees, legal fees, special commission, presents from even any gift from client is a professional income. You have to add, okay, examiner's fees, any other receipts. All these you have to add, then you will get total professional receipts. Then professional expenses we will have like office expenses, salary to staff, cost of books for professional purpose, depreciation of office equipment, subscription, purchase of stamp paper and court fee, traveling expenses. All these you have to deduct. Then if you minus total professional expenses out of professional receipts, then we will get professional income. Okay, on that you have to pay tax. Next, we are done with 3 heads of income: income from salary, income from house property, income from business of profession. The next one is income from capital gains. Now, what do you mean by capital gain? Any income derived from a sale of capital asset. Now, motor car, if you're having any car, okay, if you sell that car, okay, in the case of business, then if you're getting any profit from that car, that is taxable under the Income Tax Act 9. Buy any land, okay, and if you sell that land at a profit, then you have to pay tax under the head called income from capital gains. But there are 3 conditions for the computation of taxable capital gain. Look at the one by one condition. Profit and gain arising from the transfer of capital asset during the previous year is, see, if you are getting any profit or gain due to a sale of capital asset during the current, your academic financial year is, previous year is 2018-19, okay, that is taxable under the following heads. First one, it should be a capital asset. It should be a capital asset, and there should be a transfer of capital asset. That means if suppose if you have any car, if it is in the name of X and transfer means that should be transferred in the name of Y, then only that will be charged under the head called capital gains. For many will try to escape from the tax by giving that asset to others, but the name of the owner should be changed, and transfer should take place only in previous year. See, your current academic financial year is 18-19. that transfer should have been taken in the previous year 2018-19, and there should be a profit or gains. If you are getting loss, then you don't have to pay tax. If you have any profit, then you have to pay tax. Okay. Then, what do you mean by capital asset under section 2 class 14? Assessing. Okay. But it does not include, please remember, any stock in trade. It does not include any stock in trade, a consumable stores, a personal effect. But if you're selling any jewelry, that is capital asset, archaeological collections, taxable, archaeological collection, drawing, painting, sculptures, any work of art, all these are all capital assets. Okay. Next, we have types of capital assets. Please remember, when it comes to financial asset, we have two types of assets: short-term capital asset, long-term capital asset. So when it comes to financial assets means shares, debentures, okay, UTI, Unit Trust of India, or mutual funds, or zero coupon bonds. All these are all. See, if you're doing any investment under investment in shares, if you buy and hold for more than 1 year, if you buy now, today's date is 30 in the month of September 2000. For more than 1 year, then that will be called as long-term. Bought and held for more than 1 year. And if it is held for less than 1 year, short-term capital asset. Suppose if you are buying today, 13th. That is short-term capital asset. We have depreciable assets, and those depreciable assets are always short-term capital. X company bought a machinery kind of things. But please remember, depreciation short-term capital assets, and whatever the profit arises of long-term capital gain. Very, very important. If you have any asset like land, building, okay. It is long-term capital asset. It is short-term capital asset. 3 years, short-term capital asset. If you are getting any profit out of arises out of short-term capital assets, which arises due to sale of or transfer of gain, which you have to remember. Okay. Suppose if you have security transaction tax, it is completely financial year up to 1 lakh long-term capital gain taxable at the rate of 10%. without STD, that means land, building, or any other asset. Next, we have short-term capital gain. %, and short-term all these are very, very important points which you have to remember. See, what do you mean by income from other source? Become a part of 4 heads of income, that is income from professional. If any income, if it is not come from other source. Now I'll give an example. House property, it will not come under business, it will not come under capital. Okay, in a fixed deposits in a nationalized bank. Under any 4 heads of income? No, that is that. Examples of income under other source are like house will be subletted to the other part. The source. Is ground rent. Is exempted, but agricultural income received outside director's commission for standing company, examination remuneration received by a teacher, rent of a plot of land, incomes will come under the head called income from any efforts. Okay, without putting betting, gambling, so all at the rate of 30%. Casual income is a non-recurring which is earned by chance. I told you betting, it's a chance. Such income is neither anticipated uncertain times. I told you. Otherwise, you will lose money. There is uncertain times. House property, business, capital gains, other source. Gross total income. So we have all these reductions. Public Provident Fund or RPF. And 80 CCDs related to pension contribution. All these reductions you can. Okay. Next, 80 GG. Education loan. If you have taken any loan for education, purpose or for his family members. ECC is related to RGESS. Deduction. An assessor can have deduction for his father and mother, and 80 DD is related to is related to medical expenditure, and 80 you 80 is related to donation, and 80 GGB is 80 GG is related to political parties. And TTB is related to interest income. So then if you deduct these deductions, then we will get I told you there are 5 types of income. Then we will get total income on the so when it comes to company, please remember there is no salary. We'll be having only 4 heads of income, no salary. Next, we have tax planning. See, I have told you planning. See, X is having an income of 7 lakh. The exemption limit is they have given 5 lakh. Okay, if your income is more than 5 lakh, that so now wants to reduce his income less than 5 lakh. So what year public provident fund or any other NSC, National Savings, do then by tax planning. Tax planning may without violating in any way. See, I'm not going to LIC, you will go for LIC or PPF, okay? That too as per law only is not violating. Deductions, concessions, rebates, tax planning. So now a PPF, tax planning, a national savings. This is the meaning of tax planning. Next, when it comes very, very important. One is tax avoidance, other one is tax. Tax, we have loopholes. We have loopholes. Our tax liability. We can reduce our tax liability. Tax through legally, permissibly means, I mean, the tax burden. That is tax avoidance. To avoid the lower tax rates. See, I have told you. TT 30%. If you're selling shares through record. So STCG with STT is 15%. Burden of 15%. STCG without STT 30%. That is tax avoidance. We are using the by estate planning within the means of sanctioned by the income tax. What they have given. Burden. Now you can have deduction of 80 IA. You don't have to pay tax avoidance. Okay. Illegally, you are reducing or you are here uses unlawful means to evade prohibited and therefore subject to civil or tax evasion is illegal. And if you're doing any here, you should not violate any laws. Example, see there they might have shown only 9 lakh. That is tax evasion of expenses. They might have shown more expenses. Evade taxation or deliberately reduce tax to reduce tax burden. So what they're doing, I mean, they might have got 10 lakh income, but they're showing only tax avoidance and tax evasion. A simple as per the legal using legitimate tax deductions. Illegal. You are not paying tax. Okay, it is complete. See, tax amendment is simple. You have to file your returns on or before due date. Should have vouchers for that. Maintaining all those thing but tax management. Okay. At the end of session, if you have any questions, you can. If you have any. Any questions related? Speak. Or else chat box and clarify your doubts. No, you are not. I mean, we are not paying GST on fuel. Petroleum product. ITC bill can be. No, you're not paying GST on petroleum products. Oh, you're asking as admissible expenses, which can be shown it as admissible expenses only. You can claim it as an expenses. It's a business expenses. Yeah. Any have any question, you can just type it in chat box. It can be related to GST also. Now, am I audible? Okay, Shweta N, she has asked for previous year expenses. First February 2020. Okay, 2020-21. That means which start 2020 and ends on 31st March 2021. 2021 for the financial year 2021 or previous year. February 2018. February 2018. If you're asking for finance, February 2019. Is that clear, Shweta? If we pay for auto or taxi examples, Ola or can we show this for income proof exemption? Ola and all. See, for hiring and all, Ola and they are exempted from GST. Exemption for GST if that under GST, and Ola and all, they won't get than 40 lakh. That means they are not registered under GST. They are unregistered dealers. Number. But Ola, you're paying less than, their turnover would be less than 40. What is the answer? Kumar sir. tax are, but someone is asking to unmute. Anil Sulai guy. But uh, but uh, they can register. Yeah, they can register. Can uh, no, I think it is 40. Okay, I'll let you know. Okay, you have any other question? Exemption limit. Okay, I'm sorry. For service sector, it is, yeah, 40 lakhs. Okay, thank you for that information. Any question? Okay, can we? If they're spending money for some services but without bill, okay, should have proof for everything. Okay, then only you can show it as a business expenses. And will there be a workshop for the, yeah, we are. Just a minute. If at all, if you can show it in like what is cash, that too with some risk. Yeah, definitely we'll share the slides. Kumar sir, Sampath sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, just a minute. So principal and also vice president HOD. So vice principal and HOD and all. To express my opinions on income tax, I thank. We have one more question, sir. Just a minute. No, if you're purchasing any goods from a compound dealer or a person who has opted composition scheme, you cannot take. And Anjali is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good afternoon. And would like to extend a special thanks to Professor Kumar. Given us a brief information and deep knowledge on. So,
which is registered under the Companies Act of 2013, and they have to pay tax. Association of persons or body of individual, AOP, Association of persons, BOA, body of individual, and even they need to pay tax. And we have local authority like municipal corporations, they have to pay tax. And artificial physical person like universities or LIC, under section 2 subsection 31 of IT Act 1961. Okay, now then what do you mean by next? Now, and income from HP or business or profession should
paying. There are two types of tax, direct tax and indirect tax. Then what kind of tax are you paying? You can just say incidence and impact.
it's nothing but it's an exempted from employer to university or hospital.